Now, many people like November because it's close to Christmas and everyone gets all excited and stuff. But me personally, I don't like November because usually in November, that's when I participate in one of two things. Number one is no shave and the other one is no nut November. No nut November is basically one of the hardest things to go into because, well, let's be real here. Your adrenaline starts pumping because you can't pump your eggplant. That's basically the best way to put it. Also, special announcement. I forgot to mention this, but basically, guys, I am officially live streaming on YouTube. That is right. I have made a channel called Bubba Gaming. Make sure you guys do go subscribe to it. And basically, I will be streaming on YouTube live to you guys and as well as Twitch. So make sure you guys do follow both of those and hope to see you guys at the live streams. But other than that, let's get into this crazy, insane story. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba and welcome back to another insane story. So today's story takes place back when I was 16 years old. I was 16 in high school and I was already known throughout my high school for being the ultimate F-boy. Like literally back when I was in high school, I would literally do anything that walks. Like no joke, as bad as it sounds, it was literally me. And if you guys don't know, basically on this channel, I talk about me doing the Devil's Tango a lot. So me doing it a lot back in high school basically put myself on a really hard reputation because a lot of girls already knew me for doing the Devil's Tango a lot. But here's where the crazy part happens. I remember one day when I was walking down the hallway of my school, I had a girl walk up to me randomly and it was like the second day of November and she came up to me saying, "I bet you already lost No Nut November." What is what I told her? I didn't really know what No Nut November was when I was 16 because I'm gonna be honest here, like who wouldn't want a nut? Anyways, I remember she said that and I told her, "What do you mean No Nut November? Is that actually a thing?" And then she said, yeah, like all the cool guys do it. Like, are you not doing No Nut November, you weirdo? You can't handle it, can't you?" And when she told me that, I kind of wanted to play it cool, so I'm like, "Oh no, what are you talking about? Like I can definitely do it. I think you're just confused," is what I told her afterwards. I remember it was my first period of school right after I had that conversation. And when I had that conversation with that girl, it made me question if I wanted to do No Nut November. But I'm gonna be honest here, like obviously I wasn't at the time. But then out of nowhere, I remember one of the hotter girls in our school ended up walking up to me. She walked up to me because she knew I had a reputation of doing the Devil's Tango all the time. And she knows also that I kind of did hit her up back in the day, but she wasn't ever really interested in me because she knew my reputation. So I considered her a loss of a girl that I could not actually do the Devil's Tango with. And I remember when she randomly walked up to me on my first period of class, she said, "Hey, so like apparently you're not doing No Nut November. Like what's that about? Why do you care?" is what I told her. Because I'm gonna be honest, like I don't know why she was asking about me beating my eggplant all of a sudden when she didn't want to do anything with me at all in the first place. But then she told me this: "You know what? I'm gonna be honest, guys who do No Nut November are like really cool." And then she walked away. From there I was like whatever and basically ignored her. And I basically remember when lunchtime came around, I came up to my friend group and told them like, "Guys, like bro, for some reason everyone's so on top of this No Nut November stuff. Like it's such garbage, don't you guys think?" And all the guys looked at me saying, "Bro, you're not doing No Nut November?" And my other friend said, "Dude, like you gotta do No Nut November, bro. Like it's good for you." What? Are you guys crazy? Is what I told them. Because I'm gonna be honest, No Nut November sounded like a hoax. It sounded like a joke just for guys to be more pissed off. And did you guys know like it's healthy for you to beat your eggplant? Like it is healthy for you. I remember I ended up telling them that and they didn't really care. They said it was a part of a trend that they wanted to follow. So I remember basically I started looking at all of them and I'm like, okay, you know what? Fine. I'll do No Nut November too. I remember they all looked at me and they're like, "Dude, you know who you are, right?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" And then my friend said, "Bro, you're Bubba. Like you always, and I mean always do the Devil's Tango. Like there's no way you can't do this." I remember I was kind of just like, "Bro, like trust me, I can handle it." And when I said that, I remember out of nowhere, the same girl that met me at first period that was the hot girl that was never really interested in me came up to me saying, "So I heard you're now participating." "Yeah," is what I told her. And then she said, "Well, I mean, if you're participating, if you can handle going through all of November, then maybe I'll let you do the Devil's Tango with me by the time it hits December." Wait, are you serious? Is what I told her. Because I'm gonna be honest here, like she was never really interested in me and didn't like me because of my reputation. But at the same time, I guess she was attracted to me, but she just wanted to know if I had self-control. I have no idea. But basically, when she told me that, I remember I basically went to my backpack, pulled out a piece of paper, slapped it on the table and said, "You're gonna have to sign this contract saying that." All the boys were in the background going, "Sign it, sign it, sign it." And basically, she ended up signing a contract saying if I could survive all of No Nut November, she would have to do the Devil's Tango with me. I remember everyone was freaking out when she signed it. And basically, it became a competition for me to do No Nut November and get to do the Devil's Tango with the hottest chick in our school if I do survive it. Now, here's where the real problem comes in. Once one thing everyone was right about is that I do the devil's tango a lot. Like, there's not a day where I don't think about doing it. Holy cow, that sounds really bad. I should probably get some help with that. Well, I mean, at the same time, though, this was high school, and, well, hormones are crazy back in high school, especially for me. Anyways, I remember that same day, I ended up going home, and I basically told my parents how, like, this whole trend of No Nut November was going on. And my dad started laughing. My mom thought it was, like, really funny and stuff. But I remember when I went downstairs, I officially got my devil's cream towel and basically put it in the washer and basically did not have one. Me knowing that I wouldn't have a towel under my bed whenever I needed it basically made me like reassure that I shouldn't be doing it in the first place. I know, kind of a weird strat. And basically prepared myself to not do any sort of beet meeting or eggplant beating for the rest of the month. I remember what I ended up doing was I ended up hopping on my Xbox and hopping on with the boys and basically distracting myself for the entire night. But then I remember when it got towards the closer to the end of the night and almost to bedtime, I remember I laid down on my bed going on my phone and basically swiping through Snapchat and talking to all the baddies I used to talk to back in high school. And basically, I remember I ended up getting an ad on Snapchat from the hottest girl in our school, the one that did the whole bet with me in the first place. She added me, and when she added me, I remember she ended up sending me a Snapchat with her legit cherries out. No joke, out of nowhere, this girl decides to say, send me her cherries, and I'm like, dude, like, that's cheating, because obviously she knows that I was attracted to her. But then she snapped me back saying, don't do anything, Bubba, or you're not ever gonna be able to hang out with these. At this point, she was teasing me. She was teasing me in my own bet. That was crazy. Honestly, I remember I was so annoyed, but I basically shut off my phone and shut it down and basically did not turn it on until the next morning. The next morning came up, and basically, I remember when I went to my bathroom and started, like, you know, basically brushing my teeth, I went on my phone and I basically saw how many photos she sent me. She sent me over 40 photos of her peaches, of her cherries, everything. Every piece of body was on my Snapchat. I didn't know what to think nor what to do. So I remember I was basically texting my friend saying, bro, this is going to be impossible. I remember this went on for, I want to say, almost 2 weeks. And on the last week of No Nut November, I remember I was really pissed off. I had no patience. I basically had a really bad temper. And let's just say I felt like a whole new man. Knowing that I didn't, you know, do any sort of devil's tango with myself or anyone else for a whole month almost was insane to me. Like, brutally insane. And I remember I was always pissed off. But then I remember towards the end of the month, the girl ended up snapping me, the hot girl that wrote the contract in the first place. And she said, hey, like, so like, I'm gonna have to like break her contract. I remember I was so pissed off. I'm like, are you serious? But you signed it. And she said, yeah, but like, I'm kind of like seeing someone now. And then I told her, well, I mean, that's tough. She ended up realizing that it was unfair for me to like, you know, do all of No Nut November and basically her break her terms of the rules, or basically our contract, I should say. So then she told me, you know what? After school, just like meet up with me at the theater. And I ended up snapping her back saying, but the theater's closed because they're having a show soon. But then she told me once again, just trust me, meet me there. I remember I ended up going to the theater classroom that we had in our school, but it was shut down for a bit because there was like a show going on and stuff that they were preparing for. I met her in there. I remember there was like a whole set of, I guess, Princess and the Pea that was happening. And she was basically sitting on the mattress on the ground that was already in the theater room. And she basically told me, you know what? We can break your contract early. And she basically ended up pointing at the mattress that was already on the ground for Princess and the Pea. And I remember I looked at her and I'm like, right here, right now. And then she comes up to me as she grabs me and says, yes, but you cannot tell anyone we did this. You understand me? So I ended up saying, sure, I'm down. And basically, long story short, I ended up basically losing No Nut November, but at the same time winning my contract. Because I did end up doing the devil's tango with her in the theater classroom. It was kind of funny because I remember I ended up getting the devil's cream on the mattress in the, you know, Princess and the Pea, but they still used it for the show. I don't know. It was kind of funny to me. I thought I should put that in there. But I mean, other than that, that is basically it for today's story. Make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. And also follow me on Instagram and join the Discord server down below. And like I always say, follow for more embarrassing stories. All right, peace out, guys. Okay, so No Nut November is honestly a big deal. And a lot of people don't understand that. But basically, back in my high school days, we had a certain rule for No Nut November. Or November in general, I should say. You see, in November, in my high school, if you were able to grow a beard, you would participate in Movember, where basically you would grow your beard out and basically see how long you can make it. But as for guys who couldn't grow beards, well, they had to participate in No Nut November. Because in November, well, if you didn't hit puberty enough, I guess, you know, you're still in that stages of beating your eggplant like every day. And basically, you would have to basically participate in No Nut November. It was a golden rule in my school that you would have to do this, and a lot of guys actually did participate in it. And obviously, girls thought it was stupid because, well, you know, guys would get cuffed with, like, you know, other girls, and they expected to do the devil's tango. But if you were really one of of the boys, you would understand that No Nut November is a massive deal. And today's story is about how I broke that to my babysitter of all things. So before we get into the story, make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And let's just jump straight into this. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to a really embarrassing story. So today's story all takes place back when I was 16 years old. Now, when I was 16, I'm not gonna lie to you, I was a major player, meaning that I would always, like, you know, go out, try to do the devil's tango, and be someone really toxic. I'm not gonna lie, I think I was really like one of those toxic males back in high school. And to be fair, I think nowadays it's appreciated to be a toxic male, since Andrew Tate and, you know, all those guys like Sneeko and Neon try to, like, you know, push that out there on everyone. But I will say this much, obviously there are fake toxic males like them, and then there are real ones like me that basically just do it for the kicks and giggles. So I remember one time I was sitting at home and I was basically getting ready because, you know, Thanksgiving was coming up. At this point, I was 2 weeks into November and I was not beating my schlong, meaning that I would not go anywhere near my eggplant, and every time I was about to, or every time I got excited, I just thought about hitting the gym or playing video games or do anything else other than beating my meat. Now, obviously this was a good way and it was doing really good, but obviously one day I remember my mom and dad walked into my room telling me, "Oh, Bubba, I'm gonna tell you right now, we're going on vacation, so we're gonna not be able to be here to take care of you, but since you're not participating in school as much and since you're not doing good at school, we're gonna be having a babysitter to make sure you're okay." Now, obviously I hate babysitters. You guys know on this channel I've had so many babysitters growing up, and I won't lie to you, as naughty as I was, I don't think I deserved it, but at the same time it was my parents, right? So I can't disobey my parents. Now, when my parents told me I was gonna have a babysitter, obviously I was upset, and I was gonna tell them how I wasn't gonna do anything because I was in No Nut November, because at the time in high school I couldn't grow a beard. I told them many times, "Mom, Dad, I'm not gonna do anything, trust me, like, it's not that time of year." But obviously my parents didn't trust me because of all the other times I broke their trust with, you know, them walking in on me with other women, which was not smart of me, by the way, but hey, what can I say? I was a pretty naughty kid back in high school. And from there I was pretty sad and upset, and the next day came around. My parents got ready to go on vacation to go see family for Thanksgiving. As for me, well, I'm not gonna lie to you, I ended up staying home doing my homework. Yes, I actually ended up doing my homework because, well, you know, it was another distraction that I could go to instead of beating my schlong, or my eggplant, as I usually say on this channel. I remember as I was doing my homework though, I ended up hearing a knock on the door, and obviously I knew in my head that was my new babysitter. I ended up basically going downstairs, and I basically ended up like sitting on the side, seeing who my new babysitter was and who in the world also would want to babysit me, especially like near Thanksgiving. Like, really, like, do you really not have family to go to other than babysitting me? Like, you need serious help. But basically I ended up looking at the door and kind of leaning over and seeing who was coming in, and I saw it was this fine babysitter. Like, I'm not joking when I say this, like, she was so fine, she was so attractive, and my eyes like opened wider when I looked at her. Oh my goodness, like, she was a 10 out of 10. I don't know where my parents found these babysitters. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if they like literally, you know, went on a website or something, but I'm telling you right now, like, these babysitters were coming straight out of like the hottest Tinder app you can find. Like, it made no sense to me where these babysitters were being found. I remember I ended up going downstairs and I'm like, "Oh, like, hi, like, I'm Bubba," and I introduced myself to her right away. Obviously I wanted to play it cool, but then my mom ended up coming in saying, "This is the guy you're going to be babysitting." Thanks, Mom. Thanks. Yeah. I'm the one you're babysitting, is what I told her afterwards. She looked at me really weird and she's like, "Oh, like, are you like younger than you look?" No, I'm 16. You know, my mom and dad, they just don't trust me. So, you know, it's just one of those things. She looked at me really curiously, but then afterwards said, "Okay, well, I'm gonna be here for 2 nights apparently. So, yeah, okay, cool. Let's just see how this works out." She sounded like she was really like weirded out because obviously staying in a house alone with a 16-year-old is obviously very bizarre. But I remember an hour later, my whole entire family left and I ended up staying with her at the house. Now, this is where the story gets really awkward because I remember as we're like, you know, she was at the house, I basically went up to my room and started playing video games because I didn't know what else to do. And obviously, like, I'm not gonna lie, she was really attractive, and since it was No Nut November, there was no way I was gonna lose to this fine babysitter. So obviously from there, I ended up staying in my room playing Call of Duty, talking to the boys, just doing anything that does not require me thinking about beating my schlong or my eggplant. And then one thing led to another. I remember I ended up hearing a knock on my door. It was my babysitter. She walked in and she told me, "Oh, Bubba, I'm just curious, is it like cool if I take a shower?" Yeah, it's cool. "Oh, like, can you show me which bathroom to use?" Yeah, I'll show you right now. I ended up walking her to my bathroom because I didn't know if my parents wanted her using their bathroom. So I ended up walking her to my bathroom and I told her to use this. She ended up basically saying thank you, and I ended up leaving right away because obviously, like, I'm not gonna stay there for the show, if you know what I mean. So I remember I ended up running straight to my Xbox, sat down, and then I just ended up playing Call of Duty. I was in an Xbox Live party chat with me and the boys, and I ended up talking to them saying, "Yo, guys, literally literally my babysitter's taking a shower and she's hot, bro. Like, she's really hot. My friends ended up like talking to me saying, bro, that's kind of weird and stuff like that. But as I was explaining to the guys how attractive she was, I am not joking. She literally ended up going to my door, knocking on it once again with my door wide open. And I saw her and only in a towel. And she looks at me saying, oh, Baba, do you know how to like turn on like the water? Like, I don't understand it. I ended up looking at her and you guys have no idea how hard it was not to get bricked. Like, it was literally mission impossible to the point where I got up. I ended up walking her over to the bathroom again and I ended up turning on the water. And right before I ended up leaving, she saw that I was bricked. How did she see? Well, I was wearing sweatpants. Like, I was literally wearing sweatpants, right? So she clearly saw that I was bricked over here. Like, it was not easy, boys. It was not easy. You saw I was bricked and she literally looked at me and said, are you okay? She ended up kind of smiling. And to be honest, I didn't know the age of this babysitter, but I think she was like 27 maybe and I was 16. I'm not really sure. And I ended up looking at her saying, yeah, I'm good. And I ended up running into my room. Nothing happened afterwards. She ended up taking her shower and I ended up staying in my room, basically just, you know, laying on my bed, praying that I don't touch my eggplant because obviously I don't want to fail No Nut November. But then this is where the story gets really broken. And this is where I ended up failing because right after her shower, this babysitter thought it'd be a great idea to walk into my room with her towel and her being soaking wet, smelling like dandelions. And she looks at me saying, oh, Baba, I was just like curious, like, are you okay? I looked at her questioning why was she checking in on me in a towel? But then afterwards, she decides to turn around and her towel dropped and I saw her peach like never before seen. And at that moment, I knew I couldn't handle myself. I couldn't. Guys, I'm a hypersexual. Like, I literally could not refuse. I remember I ended up walking up to her. I picked up her towel for her. And one thing led to another. We made out and we ended up doing the devil's tango. We ended up doing that for the next 2 nights. And I knew at that point, like, I was already long gone because at that point, I failed No Nut November. I failed the boy. Literally, the year I was 16, I failed No Nut November. And at that moment, I was really sad, obviously. I was really disappointed in myself too. And the guys at school found out about it as well. And they were really disappointed in me because, well, I left my Xbox mic on, so they kind of heard everything she was, you know, yelling and moaning, but that's not the point. All I'm gonna say is that babysitter honestly was one of a kind. And this is actually one where I didn't get caught because, you know, me and her sometimes talk to this day. And yeah, by the way, she did give me permission to say the story as long as I didn't say her name. But anyways, guys, that is basically it for today's story. Make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And like I always say, just follow for more embarrassing stories just like this one. All right, peace out, guys.